In light of what has become public knowledge of the realities at residential schools, we are calling for a system of meaningful consultation to be implemented by the Canada Council for the Arts in order to allocate equitable funding to Indigenous and racialized artists across Canada. The lack of meaningful consultation with Indigenous communities has led to a gap in communication, resulting in a lost opportunity to bridge divides between the descendants of colonial settlers and Indigenous people. This lack of understanding and awareness about historical sufferings will only perpetuate our problems. Meaningful consultation needs to be implemented to build relationships and trust with Indigenous communities. Indigenous people hold unique languages, knowledge systems, and beliefs that have been repressed by law historically. It's time to create spaces and opportunities for Indigenous people to express this culture and their histories freely. This meaningful consultation between the CCA and Indigenous communities would result in equitable funding being made available. This would then strengthen relationships with Indigenous artists throughout Canada. Better representation of Indigenous voices is crucial, and the support and funding made available needs to properly represent a commitment to this goal. For the CCA, meaningful consultation would mean working towards building relationships and trust with Indigenous communities. It would mean engaging with Indigenous communities in the early stages of the administrative process, as well as all parties acknowledging the value of the current consultation. Increased funding would allow Indigenous artists to create community-based works of art, enhancing communication between the Indigenous community and Canada. If the CCA answers their call to action from the Truth and Reconciliation Commission of Canada, then real truth and reconciliation could be led forward in a constructive way. Steps need to be taken for Indigenous artists to feel they have access to sufficient resources and funding, beginning with the support of the CCA. This support and engagement would ensure that Indigenous artists are being seen and heard throughout the country. Now is the time for this practice to be put into action. It is crucial that consultation with Indigenous communities is better implemented. Indigenous voices need to be heard. They need the platform to speak, to move forward and grow as a nation, as a community, and as individual artists. There needs to be improved support and funding made accessible from the CCA.